Okay, so this is going to be a very interesting session. I didn't even list it as a session. I listed it as an event. This is a very topical subject because the short-run bookmaking is a complete growth area for printers, and it's something that they might not understand is not such a leap in many instances to get into. And basically the purpose of this panel was to bring together all the components that provide you with the resources to create a short-run bookmaking business or add it to your services. One was obviously going to be HP from Indigo, representing the printing technology. Then, but first, let's start in the order of importance. Let's start with the paper, which is GPA Specialty Substrates, is represented here by Red Cooler Ron Bergan.
Hey, everybody.
I don't know how to say your last name. Pergandy. Ron Pergandy, representing GPA. It starts with the paper choices. Then we were going to move on to Indigo because that's where we're going to be talking about printing technology. Hopefully they'll show up. Then, of course, you have to bind the books, and FastBind is here for that reason. But prior to that, especially when it comes to photo books, we have Lumapix on the panel today, and they basically provide the software that enables printers to create photo books, pretty much. So I just gave a pretty brief overview. Basically, we're just going to pull the mic out and share it, if you don't mind, instead of passing the mental thing around. And let's just start off very quickly with who you are and what you do. And thanks so much for joining us, everybody.
Hi, I'm Kent Dalzell with FastBind. I represent FastBind's interest in North America. We provide case-making systems and bookbinding systems for all kinds of books, including the photo books.
I am Ron Pergandy from GPA. I'm GPA's Director of Digital Media for our paper category. And it's an honor to be with you guys today. And we primarily service the photo book market with papers, but we work with a lot of different offset printers who, if we continue to encourage the offset, the commercial printing market, to take some best practices away from a market that's been very successful with books in the photo market, and say, if you understand who your customers are, we're getting too far down the path. We'll save that for the panel.
Thanks, Ron. My name is Bob Winkler. I'm with Lumapix. Lumapix makes software for photo books, yearbooks, church directories, all kinds of books. We're going to be in 10,000 schools this year with our yearbook software, and we have a number of products that work directly with GPA and FastBind, and we are also an HP Solutions partner. Thanks.
Perfect. And HP? Oh, sorry. Okay, so let's start with... Well, I don't like when people don't show up for my panels. I'm sorry. Okay, let's start with probably the simplest question. How should printers assess if short-run bookmaking is right for their business? And then how do your products help them achieve success? And if you can, please share some customer stories. It's a long question, but that's why we're here to discuss this.
All right. Let's start at the top then. How does a customer assess whether they should get into the photo book business in the first place? There's a lot of factors that go into that decision. It depends on the customer base they're going after. It depends on the business growth they're going for, whether the current business they're in is providing them with the growth they need. There's contrary to what most people think in this space right now, they think that people aren't really making books and kids are looking at their phones and really aren't making books, but that's really not true. The photo book business is growing, and it's a very high profit, low volume order business, so it's a big difference for a lot of big printers to look at this space. Not just can they do it, but can they handle the business structure that allows them to sell one or two products to an individual customer. The second question?
How do your products help them achieve success? And do you have any customer stories you can share?
Okay, sure. So from a binding perspective, the key to photo books in the market today is you must have a customized printed cover. If you look at anything of the samples you see up here, you actually have to have the customer's image in the cover itself. Photo books are primarily going to be a hardcover. That's the standard now. So what we do at Fastbind is we provide both the case making system so that you can make the cover yourself and then bind the book pages into the book cover depending on the kind of book you're going to make. And as a customer story, I can give you an example. One of the things we talk to our big print shops about is, if you just think about a photo book and say, well, that's what we're going to do, we can't compete with Snapfish or these online retailers. That's really not the way to look at it. The way to look at it is, I've got a huge press. I need to run that press an extra half an hour or hour or 2 hours a day. And the way I do that is add additional products to the printing I do right now. So photo books don't have to be my major product, but if it allows me to get more print revenue from my press, if it allows me to get a better margin, then there's a good reason to add photo books or calendars or cards or other image products. I don't have to compete with the online retailers. I just need to increase my print volume, and that's a way to look at photo books as a growth strategy for yourselves.
Thanks so much, Ron.
Thank you. So when we're working with commercial and or quick printers, anyone with an offset and or digital press, to me, I'm not encouraging them to get into the photo market per se, but let's face it, if you're a printer out there, you've been printing photographs for the lifetime of your company.
It's true.
You need to hit the color. You need to get the flesh tones right. You know what happens if your color's not right? And so when printers talk about becoming more like photo companies or producing books, I said, you guys been producing books of one form or another. Maybe they're saddle stitch books. Maybe you buy out your case making. So you're already a book printer in a lot of respects now, and you're already a photo printer in a lot of respects. So from there, it's getting back to what we said in a panel earlier today, understanding who your customers are, understanding the results that they're trying to create, and then if you're willing to look at a CapEx because there's other types of books you want to be making and you want to bring that in-house, there's great collaborators up here and at the show to talk to about that. But really, you're already making books. It's do you want to keep doing those types of books or get to a whole new level of bookmaking? A specific success story is a product. I see the inventor of FlexBind over here, Tom Holmberg. We've heard a lot of buzz about lay flat books and lay flat bookmaking, and that's been primarily geared towards a photo book marketplace. But an award-winning FlexBind lay flat book was out of Indiana, and their advertising group at the university, they wanted to prepare a pitch book. So they prepared a beautiful lay flat pitch book with traditional commercial content on a beautiful lay flat book and made their pitch with that lay flat FlexBind product. Pretty fascinating. GPA as well has done some where we try to be our own best customer. We've taken PowerPoint presentations and built them into beautiful lay flat books on pearlescent FlexBind products. Just a way to think a little bit differently about how you might normally go and present a PowerPoint presentation at a very important meeting.
That's great. I actually wrote a post. I like reality TV, and one of the there was one of these real estate, high $1 million whatevers, and the real estate agent had a high-end apartment, and what he did was he literally created personalized presentation books of the story of the building as if this was your life living in this building. And that's what he used for presentation materials. So I completely agree that there's a lot more uses of this technology, especially in the marketing space. If you're a printer and you're not using every technology to your advantage to pitch people like me, print buyers, and showing us what you can do. I mean, the paper companies, pretty much follow a swatch book as your guide to what you should be showing people. But certainly, books are fantastic presentation materials. So I'm glad you touched upon that. Bob?
Okay, so anybody that wants to get in the business and do high-value photo books needs to first define their market. They need to look at where they want to be. You cannot, as Kent said, compete with Snapfish. You can't compete with Shutterfly. Those folks are doing it high volume and very cheaply. The most successful people that we've come across and our most successful customers are those that have picked on high-value market segments, a very themed marketplace, offered products that are done in conjunction with a professional photographer and their own work. We're talking weddings, of course. We're talking, at the end I'll tell you the story, the one good story that I can tell you, a really good story about somebody who's really made this work. And basically it becomes a play in a specific market. So if you wanted to pick any specific market, that's the most successful way to go. My yearbook guys have done exactly that. I've got guys, I was talking to a guy from Chicago here today. He signed up with me 2 years ago, didn't have any books. He's up to about 15 schools now. That's a nice business, right? It's not all the business, you're not going to be living at it yet, but along with his own photography work, that's a nice business. The best story I can tell you is we have a customer in the Canadian Rockies, and they decided 2 years ago to do some very high-value tour books. They work with some of the tour companies up there. They take professional photos for the heli tours, the bus tours. They've created themed books already that are online on our site. There's also pools of professional photos that the end user can use to make their book, so they decide what content goes in there. And then there's also the ability for those people to upload their own photos and add them to the book like it's part of the book. So now it's a fully cross-platform, pro, amateur, and all the elements and all the other pieces that it takes to make a really good book. These are high-value coffee table books. They sell anywhere from, he has products selling anywhere from $100 to $500. And they're one-off products, and they're extremely profitable.
And let's talk a little bit about how your technology works, especially since people don't really understand how they're supposed to manage the assets. Does your software provide templates? I mean, talk a little bit about how that works, and then we'll get back to talking about your technology, how it helps people, the bonding process. And of course,
we have a completely cloud-based system. It really doesn't require any technological involvement on the part of the user. We provide the whole thing beginning to end. You can create your own templates, or you can use some of the stock templates. You can create your own pools of content. You can work as a printer. You can work with different customers out there in the marketplace, photographers, whatever the market is, and basically with our software, the end user gets pointed to a website and you can have multiple websites outward facing that are very directed to the market you want them to be in, and then they can take the product, they can select a card, anywhere from a business card to our booth, and booth 251, by the way, a little plug. Our booth is done in our software as well, so it's not just photo, and it's not just paper, but they take a template, create their product, order it, the printer gets it delivered from the cloud, and it's really that simple. There's no technology involved.
Thanks so much. Ron, or go to Ken?
All right, so the technology that we manufacture in the binding and case making process covers a large range of book products that you can make. In the photo book space, we generally recommend that our clients use our staple stitch method. There's a couple of reasons for this. You got folks like GPA who are providing really good substrates out to the marketplace. You've got the Holmberg folks that are giving us the lay flat products. And the key is that in these photo books, I must use the paper that presents the book in the best light, that has the best print quality. A lot of times that eliminates the opportunity to glue bind those books. The pages are thick, they're coated, they're stiff. So I need to go to a method that ensures that the pages won't come out. So we manufacture a stitch binding method that gives me the opportunity to make these high quality books that look really well and they won't come apart. The other process in the case making ability is to use the technologies that I have, the presses or the wide format inkjet printers I have, produce the graphics for the cover, but I need to do that in a very quick and efficient manner, but it must be done very professionally. I have to do it fast, but I need to do it professionally. So we provide products and machines that allow us to bring these books, finish the books quickly, but do them very, very well, as that's what the market is expecting.
And I just want to reiterate that one of the reasons that you're sitting here is because this is affordable. These are desktop machines, if I understand. You don't need to haul them in with tractor trailers. This is something you can literally go to your booth, buy one, and start doing this tomorrow, correct?
Absolutely. And I was talking with someone a few months ago, and they said, well, I guess, your stuff is tabletop and it's inexpensive, so I guess only the smallest guys use that. And I said, actually, it's just the reverse. As I said earlier, a lot of my big press operators need to add volume to their environment. So I have more iGen customers than I have small printer customers, because they're not only doing photo book, they're adding photo book to the product mix that they make. So these are machines that are under $10,000, are relatively easy to use. Production speeds are quite good, but they're not automated, so the cost is relative.
Thanks so much, Ron.
So this segment again is wine, books, and beer. And so for those who are all out in the printerverse virtually, sorry we keep having our beers in front of you, and it's probably happy hour pretty soon by you too. But books, we're talking a lot about photo books here. And for everyone out there who's in graphic arts, which is all of us, by saying that you want to do photo books only, I really believe you're limiting yourself. And again, there's .com automated factories, and there's beautiful high-end commercial photographer labs that I see WHCC represented in the house. Shout out to the guys in from Minnesota. I mean, these guys are making the most beautiful books in the world from a photo and a high-end photography. But for all of those of you who are general commercial printers, which is the majority of people in this building and afar from a printerverse, by saying photo books, you're really limiting yourself. And again, you're doing work for which markets? Look at those markets that you're already in and you have great customer relationships. Then look at the applications of what kind of books that you want to do. My esteemed colleagues right and left talked about knowing what you're trying to accomplish by your graphic communications. Is it a manual where you can get away with an inexpensive, opaque, uncoated product? These are still books. Is it a coated paper on a lightweight 80 or 100 text? Or do you want to print it on heavier stock where you might use a flex bind product with a 14-point beautiful board stock to get those pages to lay perfectly flat? What are you trying to accomplish? Is it a felt paper, like our friends from Verona, Italy, who are here, make beautiful felt and linen papers? Yes, and the pearly grades. Just beautiful, beautiful papers that you can use to make all kinds of books, depending on what you're trying to accomplish with that particular account and with that particular artwork and the graphic elements. And just compliments to Deborah and all the sponsors and the PrintMediaCentr and Printerverse for getting us all together, because really it's all about the collaboration, because none of us or none of you can do it on your own. You need the partners. Now more than ever, we're all constrained with bandwidth, expected to do more with less, and so you need to leverage your partners here more than ever. And if there's something new you want to get into, whether it's a new investment or leveraging your equipment that you've already invested in, we can help you do that together as a community.
Wonderful. Okay, we've sort of touched. We've sort of touched upon this a little, and again, we're missing HP, so I just want to, I'm going to ask the question. If it's not appropriate, we can move on. But I actually crowdsource questions from my weekly print chat, and I'm sure we also have questions going on the internet, which we'll tap into for a second, but to give respect to the print chatters who did ask questions, I'm going to ask them. So Connecticut Print wanted to know, what is the most efficient process for setting up a short-run bookmaking system in a print shop? Is that addressable by you guys? Okay, great, Ken. Thanks so much. I guess they want to know what they need and all that other stuff, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so if you're going to set up a system in your print shop and you want to make photo books, there's a few things you need to do before you buy any equipment and before you make any decisions. You need to find out the customer that you're going to go after, the kind of books that they're going to buy, the sizes that are standard for that particular market. That's going to drive whether or not you can print them on the press you have. It's going to drive the kind of machine sizes you need to purchase, which is ultimately going to give you both the process and the cost involved. So first understand who you're going after, what sizes and what kinds of books they're expecting to buy, and then that will actually help you then make the selection of the equipment. As with all the manufacturers of machines in here, we all make machines that are different sizes, different speeds, they have different prices so that they can fit correctly. And a lot of times I'll go in and they'll say, we want to do photo books, and I'll say, all right, what do you want to do? We're really not sure. We know it's a market, we know what we want to do, so do a little investigation, find out who is the audience that you're going to go after, who you think you're going to be successful with, and that will drive the size questions and the finish questions, and then that will help you then figure out the process. Once you've done that, the process is relatively straightforward. There's a number of pieces of equipment you need to have. You must have a laminator, you need to have a case maker and a binding system. Again, once you've decided what kind of customer you're going to go after, let's say that you really want to zero in on the photo book business, then a stitch binder is fine. But if you say, well, I'd really like to also do the yearbook business using someone like Lumipix software, well, the books are going to get very, very thick. Therefore, a stitch binder really isn't a good choice for me. I'll go with a perfect binder, and that will allow me to set up a different kind of process. So you really need to know what kind of customer you want to go with, and that will make it a lot easier to select the correct equipment to go with.
And Ron, let's change that same question to, how do they know what substrates they should be using for short-run bookmaking? And again, we're not limited to photo books here, but we're going to get to that. There's questions about that after.
So questions like opacity of paper, depending on your artwork, things like you want a glossy or a dull or a satin sheet if you're talking about coated papers. If you're talking about uncoated papers, do you want something that's very smooth, or do you want something that has more of a texture to it? Then your specialty fine papers, if you want to make books on, art books, for example, on a textured art type of paper. And then again, if you're making board books, there's equipment where you could be making flush mount books, or like your children's board books where you're taking two 16-point board stocks and laminating them together when you're done with that particular content. So it just depends what you're trying to accomplish with your artwork and with the particular market. And then as was mentioned, with the different price points for the products you're trying to present.
Before you hand it off, are you noticing any trends in the paper for bookmaking?
So historically, if you think back over 10 years, there's more like a 100-pound text weight, but it seemed like the European standard was more like what would be like instead of 150 GSM, if we could talk in grammages for our worldwide friends, more 170 GSM, which is just below. Some would call that a 65-pound cover, but it lays nicely if you're just perfect binding a book. Real nice opacity, and when you start getting into heavier cover weights, then you need to start getting into different book binding methods. Make sure to mention the canvas product. Is that what it was? Don't forget about the covers and wrapping covers with canvas. Attaboy. Thank you, Matt. Go Holliston.
For us, it's really easy. We work with the printer, we work with the equipment manufacturer, the paper supplier, to make sure that the output sizes are exactly what they need to be, and the output formats, the DPI, everything are exactly what you want it to be, so that from our perspective, we try to make it perfect when it goes to the printer, or as perfect it can be. In the yearbook business, it's never going to be perfect, but as perfect as it can be, so that when it's received, it just goes right on into the process and works quite well.
So for you though, Bob, how is a printer supposed to assess the software component to create this? And does it need to integrate into their workflow system in any way, shape, or form?
Great question. The assessment is something we've done so many times that we just start right from the beginning with the printer and say, what market are you going after? What kind of products are you going to be making? And then we work with them to make sure that the output, we call them form factors, are exactly correct, and so that when they come in. And I'm sorry, the second part of that question?
Do your products and other products like yours need to integrate into their current workflow system software?
That's becoming more and more important in a lot of small manufacturers. It doesn't really matter because they can manage individual orders as they come through. But for a larger manufacturer, as you become more streamlined, you'll need to take something into, if you're using an Indigo, we are HP partners, we go right into the SmartStream product, and we also output XML, which makes it really easy to input into your file. One more thing before I go. My buddy Bill Strain over here has a whole bunch of drink tickets, so if anybody wants some...
Here we go.
Yeah,
Free drinks, free
he's
drinks.
got more drink tickets, so if anybody wants one, go get one. All right, Deborah.
Okay. Yes, please.
So back to the question about trends. As was mentioned just a little while ago, GPA sells the FlexBind paper as we do. One of the trends that we are seeing that is very significant, and I'll try to show you real quick if you can see this, is the digital lay flat paper. If you can see this book here, you notice how it's completely flat when we lay it open. And if you can reference that to a traditional book that looks like this, that is a very big trend that's going on in the photo book space now. So the process is exactly the same. The binding equipment is exactly the same. There's no extra machines that you need to do. You can do quite a large range of sizes. So we see a very, very large change in the physical appearance of the photo book when we use these lay flat FlexBind papers. And that's a really big trend we're seeing right now.
Awesome. That's actually one of the questions that was asked by Convertible Solutions and Domtar Paper is have you guys sort of true flat, and how does paper selection impact production and output, what needs to be considered? But I think we've touched upon that. So
Well, just to build on that, what was just said there, as far as a traditionally perfect bound book and a bound book with FlexBind. So there's a lot of different lay flat, if you will, technologies out there, and many of them require equipment investments. And FlexBind is a drop-in solution. You print the pages, you gather your signatures, you stitch them, you drop them in your case, whether a hard case or a soft cover, and off you go. So the curiosity that I have about the commercial industry and all the books that we as printers produce. All right, happy hour. Who is going to lead in the commercial space, as we've talked about some of the different markets and applications, to take lay flat publishing and some of the expensive ways that you're out there producing high-end commercial real estate. That was mentioned as one of the markets. Art books. The sample that was shown again over here, just imagine what you guys lose in the gutter of a traditional bound book. And if you take FlexBind as a drop-in solution and leverage the right front-end software and the right bindery methods, literally you can take FlexBind, print the crossovers beautifully on just about any kind of paper, by the way, just about any kind of paper, and then again, secure the book block and drop it in to your cover. And again, that continues to be a trend with all different types of paper, from low-end text weights to heavy cover weights. And again, who's going to lead that trend in the commercial space? Because the books that are produced there, when you talk about ROI, when you talk about really making people go wow and want to hold that book and put it out on the coffee table or on their desk at a corporation, these lay flat books with FlexBind are phenomenal books.
Thanks so much. Again, we're touching upon a lot of questions in your answers, but something that did come up from Island Print Group was what finishing is required for short-run bookmaking, which we sort of touched upon, but specifically they were interested in what PUR EVA was because they've been seeing tweets about it from you guys.
If I can distill it down into a very short conversation, because it's anything but short, the basics are there are two main kinds of glue in perfect binding. The traditional glues that all of us have been using for years, which is EVA. I won't give you the long name, I can't even pronounce it, but it's the chemical name for that kind of glue. And then there's PUR. And PUR has been used mostly in the domain of the very large binding shops, extremely large printing shops that can afford the technology that allows them to use that glue. We're seeing now a trend for two reasons in the space that PUR is becoming much more important. The first trend is that our friends that manufacture the paper are making better and better papers for print image quality. What's that do? To do that, they're using different types of papers, they're using different types of coatings, and what that does is it makes it harder and harder for traditional gluing machines to hold that paper in. So we have a problem that's being caused because it's a good thing for a printer, but really bad for traditional binding shops. The second thing is, just like this question, the information is getting out there that PUR is better. And so the customers are asking for it. They want their product to be bound with a better glue. They don't understand the costs associated with it and the other issues that come with PUR. But PUR is not technically a different kind of glue. It's a completely different compound. PUR is a glue that actually starts a chemical reaction once you expose it to humidity. So traditional EVA glue I can use, I can turn it off, I can turn it on, I can have the bag open for 6 months, nothing happens. PUR glue is something that as soon as I open the bag, I must use it. I have to clean the machine out at the end of the day. I have to throw away all the glue I'm using. It takes 24 hours to start to cure before I can even trim it on my guillotine, 2 or 3 days longer for it to actually finish curing. So an EVA book I can hand you right now. A PUR book I really need to wait 2 or 3 or 4 days. So there's a lot of differences in the way that I can use that book, and make that book. But the glue is, at the end of the day, much stronger. It has a better holding power. It's both practical because of the paper stocks that are coming from the manufacturers today that we need to use it, and it's also reasonable that the customers are asking for it. That's why it's become such a big deal.
Thanks so much. And we started a little late, so we're going to just continue because we do have a question from the home audience, and I want to give Sandy Hubbard a chance to ask that.
So our home audience got real excited when we mentioned tour books and real estate books. So rather than trying to market to consumers and hope to create some repeat business, could you brainstorm about some other business applications for this so that people can create business customers and repeat business?
Anything in the school market is big. Fundraising for the schools is a big thing. There's anywhere people spend money on something, that's really the high value. Dance schools, as opposed to soccer. Soccer, you need a pair of shoes and a ball. Dance schools, you need a lot of riding or horseback riding, any of that stuff. Anything high value like that, people will buy books.
If you're doing any agency work, speaking of high value, pitch type of books, again, everything can be one-off because everybody's a digital printer these days. It seems like you have some type of digital device. Think about what you're doing with the covers. Version the cover of one of the books, even if it's a saddle stitch book. One of the things we do with our product catalog, for example, if you're printing product catalogs, you probably have a handful of key contacts at your main customers. Personalize the cover of a static book just for your main contact and their boss and maybe a couple other people who've been involved with the project. Really, it's up to the limitations of how you think about the type of print producer that you are.
All right, so two really exciting markets that are coming out for the photo books, and if you take a step back and you say, well, I want to start doing photo books, where can I be successful? Well, if I go back through our customers that are using our machines and I look at the numbers and I see how much supplies we're sending out, we see who's being successful. And right now, 9 out of 10 that are being very successful are those who are utilizing the relationships they've already built with their customer base. They're not going out after a new customer trying to find my mom on the internet and sell a book to her. They're going B2B. They're going back to their customer base and saying, how can we use this packaging to enhance the way you do business? It might be a corporate party where they're taking pictures and they're sending those books back out to their customers. So in essence, the photo book is free to the end user, but the print provider is still getting a full value for the product. You have other opportunities. We talked about catalogs, or it could be some kind of a sales manual that you want to send out to your clients, but it's more personalized for that individual customer. So there's a lot of things that you can do with your existing customers that can drive a lot of business that doesn't cost you an enormous amount of money to capture sales that aren't within the environment you're already working with.
Thanks so much. And we have another question from home, right?
Can you talk a little bit about advancements in finishing for custom books such as die cut, foil, and emboss?
I'll probably pass this on because my opinion is based on what I see out there. And deboss or embossing and foil stamping is something that when I started 14 years ago was really important, and it was a big part of the book business, and it's really not anymore. It's kind of in a segment space now. You still have a lot of high school yearbooks that they use deboss and they use foil stamping, but past out of those segments, I see a lot of like foil stamping on printouts and handouts and things that where it shines, but in books it's very, very small percentage. So I don't see it. Maybe I can pass it over.
When you speak to foil specifically, if you looked at this range of catalog covers or book covers, if you will, this is one base paper. It's a silver foil, and then the content creator controls the artwork and the tints to give it the different foil appearances. So that's specific to foil. Embossing, debossing, we were on a panel earlier with Scodex, so you see different types of finishing, special effects and enhancements done, such as that. There's big publishing companies out there who are leveraging the Scodex technology, for example, for the cover, because they say don't judge a book by its cover, but we know everybody does.
Scodex.
And so embossing, debossing, and then with some of the laser cutting technologies and die cutting technologies, whether it's to cut a window in the cover of a book so you can see what's inside, whether the cool fly leaf or through a translucent paper to see what that inside image is, just a little taste of what's inside the cover. And again, all the specialty laser and die cutting and one-off equipment that's available these days to customize covers, mass customization, if you will. Definitely seeing that as well.
Okay, so we'll wrap it up. But Bob, did you want to address that, or?
No, I just wanted to say we're a software company. We don't really care. What I mean by that is we can configure it for any kind of output.
Perfect. So that's what I was going to basically say. Tell us a little bit more about how people can get in touch with you, where you are at the show, if you're on social media, anything like that.
My name is Bob Winkler. I've been doing the show for a long time. We are in booth 251, which is way over. Keep going until you hit a cement wall and look the other way, you'll see us. It's really a bad booth. The company is based in Montreal. I live in Vancouver. I spend more time in the U.S. than a lot of Americans do, but that's a whole other story. We can be reached at lumapix.com or at lumapix on Twitter. We have a Facebook page as well. Just search for Lumapix. LinkedIn, all the social medias. and my business card is available at the booth. I have a personal 800 number. I can be reached anytime, anywhere, and according to my wife, at all hours of the day as well.
Thanks, Bob. As far as Twitter goes, at @RedCoolerOn. Look forward to hearing from you out there. Also, at AskGPA, ASKGPA. We're at booth 3822, straight down the aisle from Printerverse. Look forward to continuing the conversation. As far as other social media, YouTube/AskGPA, we've got some great video content out there on all these different subjects. For those of you who are printers, we have a site that we built just for you, the letter R, universe.com, runiverse.com. In fact, there's about a 10-minute video on there where I talk about lay flat books, leveraging FlexBind. There's, for those of you who are into aviation, there's this massive coffee table book that's printed on a 14-point board stock. The pages lay beautifully flat. It's done on FlexBind, and this is a beautiful book when we talk about other markets to get into. Many of us are photographers by night or by day, by weekend. Just phenomenal content on ouruniverse.com, and then all the other social media channels. Website askgpa.com. If you haven't been there lately, we've really enhanced it and invested in that web presence. It's out there for the printers to use that as a tool. It speaks to markets, applications, products, and the solutions that we can create together as a community, as a Printerverse community. Thanks, Deborah.
Thanks so much. And thanks for the serenading before the panel. Appreciate it.
All right. First, I want to thank everyone here and in the universe for paying attention and being here.
Printerverse.
Printerverse. We really appreciate the fact that you're here and listening to us. FastBind, we're right over here in 3245. We're doing live demonstrations, both case making and binding, so please stop by. For those of you that aren't physically here, we have FastBind YouTube. You just Google that, you'll see all of our videos. We also do live demonstrations in our demo room. We have Skype cameras set up so you can set up in your office. We can actually do a one-to-one and show you the operation just like you were here at the show. So if you have any questions, drop us a line at fastbind.com or sales@fastbind.com on our email address. And if you're here, please come by and see us. Thank you very much.
I want to thank everybody for coming today, for drinking with us. Cheers. Thanks to the panel a lot. And have a fantastic evening. We'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much.